Hey, 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 it's AAA Wednesday, which stands for Ask Alyssa Anything. This is my weekly Q&A session where I'm responding to questions you've left me about writing a better book, the publishing industry, and getting through those first, second, third draft blues. I'm here for all of it, so please keep the questions coming. I want to help you out as much as I can. Just a couple of things before we dive in. If you're new here or you haven't yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button to join our amazing, amazing community. That way you'll make sure you don't miss out on my next Q&A session, as well as my deep dive videos that I publish on Sunday, where I talk about some aspect of the publishing industry or tactical tips on strengthening your work in progress. One other thing, it'll just take you 1 second, but if you pop down below the video and hit the thumbs up button, it helps out my channel in a big way. Thank you so much in advance. We have great questions on deck today, so let's dive in. First question here. Does it harm or help the author to mention in the query that English is not the author's native language? It's not necessary to state in the query letter that English is not your native or first language, though if you want to explain to the agent your background or where you're from, you can certainly do so. I would say you should definitely mention your background if it is relevant to the setting or the characters of the story. For instance, if you're from Spain and the story is set there, then I would definitely mention that in the bio section of your query letter. You don't need to call out whether or not English is your native language if you don't want to or don't feel comfortable doing so. Regardless, the agent is going to assess your pages and your manuscript for the strength of the story and the writing itself. Here's the next question. Is it okay to start the novel, a thriller, with a prologue where we throw the reader in the darkest and most suspenseful moment of the protagonist just before the resolution? And then in chapter 1, we bring them back a little before the inciting incident. It sounds like you're employing a tactic where you are using a prologue in a mystery novel to tease the climax of the story. You say the most dramatic and suspenseful moment for the protagonist, so I'm presuming that's the climax. And then your first chapter of the main narrative will backtrack and progress the character's journey that takes them all the way to that point. This is a totally valid way of structuring your thriller, and it is relatively established and common in the suspense genre. To use a prologue or a flash forward scene, in this case, is a bit more accurate to tease what's going to happen later on in the story. The idea here is that you're hooking the reader's interest in seeing how the character ends up in that wild, dramatic situation, and you're immediately establishing suspense to get them invested in the story. I think this can be a perfectly viable and effective tactic. My one bit of caution would be that you don't want the prologue or flash forward scene to go on for too long to delay our arrival at the actual first chapter of the narrative. In these cases, you typically want the initial scene to be impressionistic and short, just enough to kind of whet the reader's appetite, so to speak. So no more than really a few pages is what you need to make this effective. You're not going to have enough time in this prologue or flash forward scene to get into the character's situation, their backstory, etc., etc. So just give us an image of where they end up in that suspenseful moment, and then bring us into the main narrative quickly. Here's the next question. Will readers think your book is bad if it's similar to another successful book? Like every single other artistic discipline out there, writers are influenced by other writers. That's only natural. Of course, you don't want to veer into the territory of plagiarism, obviously, but it is expected that your work will be influenced by other people, especially writers that you look up to. So I don't think readers are going to deem your book bad if it shares some similarities with a best-selling book that they're familiar with. In fact, if it plays into certain things that they liked about that best-selling book, then they could be drawn to your story as well. Make sure that you're making the story your own, you're bringing your own fresh, unique take to the subject matter. Your characters are different to some degree, your plot is different to some degree, but it's natural for some parts of your story to echo other stories that have been published. After all, that's why things like tropes and cliches exist, right? Because writers are using them over and over again in different contexts. The key is to learn how to take inspiration from other authors while knowing what you are bringing to the table as a unique storytelling voice. If you've been enjoying my YouTube videos, I have great news. There are so many more resources waiting for you on my newsletter website, chapter-break.com. It's completely free to sign up, and you're going to get exclusive interviews with publishing industry insiders and best-selling authors, as well as deeper dive content from me delivered straight to your inbox. As a bonus for signing up, you're going to get my story self-assessment worksheet, which is a quiz I designed to help writers get unstuck with their current work in progress, see what's working well, and what could be improved to take it to the next level. The links for the story self-assessment worksheet and to check out my newsletter archive are in the description. Here's the next question. So how would you pitch/market a novel when its best-selling point is a mid-point plot twist that's also a spoiler? It's still, I think, pretty good up until that point, but to describe it, it sounds just kind of typical for the genre. But revealing the twist just to sell it would ruin the reading experience. In the case that you have a huge twist in your story, I do not recommend giving it away in your blurb or any marketing or pitching materials. You definitely want the reader to experience that twist for themselves because it is essential to their enjoyment of the story. That said, there are subtle ways that you can indicate that there is a twist in the story as you are marketing it either to literary agents or to readers. You can use language in the plot blurb that indicates something extremely unexpected and dramatic happens. For instance, something like the main character's life turns completely upside down when they make a shocking revelation about a family member. That doesn't give away the twist, yet gives the reader the indication that there is a twist in the story. Another way to do this in your pitching, marketing, or blurb materials is to reference another novel as a comp that also features a strong dramatic twist. So you could say something like, with a jaw-dropping twist similar to Gone Girl, this novel does XYZ. Again, that'll indicate to the reader that there is a major twist of some kind without giving away any context for what the twist actually entails. That's all we had time for today. Thank you so much to everyone who asked me a question, and if you have something you'd like to ask, drop it in the comments here and it will be added to my queue for my next session. Before you head out, don't forget to check out my free story self-assessment worksheet and my newsletter. Those links are in the description below. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on my next video. And if you have a moment, if you can hit that thumbs up button, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching and happy writing.